speaking on behalf of the House of Representatives. Joining me is Casey LaFay speaking on behalf of the Senate, and Aether as our press assistant. Before we begin our press conference today, I would just like to make a little bit of a statement about a recent bill. Today marks a turning point. The Plot Regulations Act, vital to the health of our nation, has been brought to the floor for a vote. While I have full confidence that it will pass, I do feel it is important to speak directly to the people of Redmont and to my fellow representatives and senators. This is a call to support a cause about fairness, progress, and common sense. For far too long, we have ignored the deeper issue. We've covered the wounds with temporary fixes while the underlying problem is worse. That ends today. It's time we face these challenges head on and begin the healing process our citizens deserve. At the heart of the matter is the unsustainable pricing of property in our nation. Just last year, a plot sold for $20,000, a fair and accessible price for new players and all players. Today, that same plot sells for $100,000. This is unacceptable. We cannot and should not expect new citizens to shoulder this burden. That is why I believe this legislation is not just timely, it is necessary. We are tackling the plot shortage by lowering the plot limit. We are fighting inflated auction prices with the new auction levy. We are giving new players a real chance by expanding access to the central business district for them. We are incentivizing activity and entrepreneurship with tax exemptions for business hosting plots. And most importantly, we are solving problems, not sidestepping them. This is what leadership looks like. This is what progress feels like. We are fixing our nation together as a people. This effort has transcended party lines. It has united us. We've reached across the aisle and brought forth a solution to the property crisis for the good of the Redmontine people. As the saying goes, united we stand, divided we fall. With that said, we will now begin our press conference today.
We will begin with public questions. So these were pre-submitted questions through the form. Our first question comes from Rebel Gender, directed at both presiding officers. Given attacks on the president, such as that shown in the Commonwealth of Redmont versus V_D, how can the House ensure the safety of members in Congress from similar attacks?
Okay.
I'll let President Senate Casey speak on this issue.
So during potential congressional events we might have, like this one, we're gonna use sergeants at arms to protect us, as codified by the Legislative Standards Act. And you may have seen that we also have security by the doors. We can use that to make sure that malicious folks don't get in. We can prevent them from getting in. And we can also use the government disruption clause of the Standardized Criminal Code Act to double the punishment of wrongdoers. Outside of congressional events, we mostly just have to rely on the Department of Homeland Security to do its job and protect all our members of Congress like they should be doing for every citizen. And I have faith in them to do that. Yeah.
Thank you, Casey. Next from Sophia2750 to both presiding officers. How will Congress fix the economy?
Okay. There's many aspects to the economy, so quite frankly, that's a difficult question to answer. As there's a lot that needs to be fixed. I can tell you though that the main issue with it that I've seen Congress trying to tackle is the extreme plot prices. Yeah, as they've been trying to solve with the Plot Regulations Act. I believe we would also like to figure out what to do with the financial sector. That's really come to our attention with the FRB attempting to print $50 million. this isn't what I personally believe. I have different economic stances about how I'd like to fix the economy, but this is just what I believe Congress is trying to do.
I agree with the President of the Senate as we are tackling the plot issue, which is so near to my heart.
All right, thank you, Casey. Now from an anonymous citizen to Speaker Bezagiza. Some have shared criticisms of congressional inactivity this term, especially in comparison to last term under Zelos and Juno Andrist. How do you respond to these criticisms?
There have been some bills this term that have been a joint effort among all of our representatives, such as the Plot Regulations Act, which I feel is important to note when considering who has or hasn't proposed bills. Some of our bills, like the Congressional Hearing Reform Act and the aforementioned Plot Regulation Act, are a lot larger than the typical short bills you see, so maybe our numbers have been lower. But look, some bills have taken very long to get through Congress, but that is because we have spent time working to make them the best that they can possibly be rather than rushing them. And I've been trying to do voting in batches to have better oversight of them. But, you bring up Miss Andrus, but I don't believe that her speakership had anything to do with the activity level. She wasn't particularly involved in leading legislation outside of her party, and she was only speaker for a little under half the term. Most of the bills were proposed when Zelos was speaker, so I really do not think the comparison sheds any light here. Thank you.
Thank you, Beza. From the same citizen, again to Speaker Bezagiza. How do you respond to those who say that you are unfit for government due to your involvement in the 2024 coup during a previous term as Speaker of the House? Do you think your recently revealed negative approval rating has anything to do with that?
Listen, people can change a lot in just a year's time. I've displayed my leadership both during my presidency and my many previous speakerships, so I think anyone citing that one incident is just trying to grasp for some straws. Some people I think may have disapproved of me simply because I haven't been involved much in legislation. But say if that approval rating would have been today, I think it would have been different because I've proposed the Plot Regulations Act, and that was posted just slightly before the start of the State of the Commonwealth. So I wouldn't really take my approval rating too seriously at the moment, to be honest. Next time I'll take it more into account. But not right now. I'm not really looking at that too much for any indication.
All right. Thank you, Beza. Next, to both presiding officers, LFR's alliance with the GER allowed them to gain control of both chambers, but now those parties have the worst approval ratings. What caused the shift in public perception, and what is Liberty for Redmont doing to regain the trust of the people? Again, from the previous questionnaire.
So I want to take account for any of GR's representatives as it is not my duty to do so. However, I will say that all representatives from the LFR generally had a higher approval than that of the aforementioned GR. I would like to mention that on behalf of the LFR, we are working hard to deliver people good governments. We've been working on quite a few bills, and we've gotten quite a few up. We were a big part in the Plot Regulations Act. So I wouldn't really take that as hit at the LFR as much as it is as the GER.
Yeah, I believe that we've been working on bills, some of them got proposed during the end of the month. So yeah, like Bezra said in the previous question, I feel like I'd take our approval ratings a lot more seriously after the next state of the Commonwealth. I believe just what we've been doing with legislation and also this press conference, obviously, we're telling you what we're doing. I feel like that is how we regain the trust of the people. And we're always open to questions. I think Besser can agree with me on that.
Mm-hmm.
Our DMs are always open for that.
All right. Thank you, Beza and Casey. From a different anonymous citizen to Speaker Bezigiza, are you sleepy?
Um, hmm. Well, despite people sometimes calling me Sleepy Bezer, I'm not sleepy. If I was sleepy, I don't think I'd be able to lead the House or legislate at all if I was half awake. So, no, I do not believe I am sleeping.
From the same anonymous citizen to President Casey LaFay, are you a cat?
No comment. But meow.
All right. That is all of the pre-submitted public questions. Now we will be moving on to questions from the press. First, from the Jurisdictional Journalistic Foundation, the Speaker Bezigiza, what is your current stance on the current draft of the Plot Regulations Act?
Well, I think my comment on this has been very clear. After my little debate with Endon News and my speech I made here today, I think it's very clear that I am very much in support of this bill. It is long overdue, and it is time we address this problem. I'm a huge supporter of this bill, and I hope to see it.
To both officers, due to the ruling in LCN versus the Commonwealth of Redmond, what are your thoughts on whether the Miscellaneous Offences Act should be amended regarding enslavement?
Yeah, I definitely think we should amend the law in some way to prohibit just refusing to fire employees, whether we make it fall under enslavement or not. That cannot be accepted. I would consider amending the definition of enslavement. Um, I saw that case. It was really sad to see LCN not get justice it needs. So I want to make sure that never happens again. So yes, I would consider amending the law.
I would
And
agree with the President of the Senate. I think we definitely need to, as a Congress, take a look at this legislation. Maybe with less of an opinion on the outcome, but certainly with open eyes and fair eyes on the legislation.
Thank you, Casey and Beza. And finally, from TPA News to Speaker Bezigiza, about the proposed Plot Regulations Act currently in the House. What led you and the House to decide that 30 is the maximum number of C plots?
So, how we got to 30 plots is kind of interesting. Originally, the LFR was very staunch on keeping it at 40 or lowering it to only 40, if at all. But after discussing it with many of our representatives in the House across party lines, such as Kai, who's here today, we decided that 30 is a good and fair compromise considering the vast amounts of proposals and reforms that are in this bill. So 30 is very fair when you consider everything this bill is going to change. So 30 is a fair, it's a fair amount for all citizens of the Commonwealth.
Thank you. And that concludes everything regarding pre submitted questions. We will now open the floor up to anyone in attendance who would like to ask anything further of the two presiding officers. Cat, I would like to ask if Bezra is a cat and if Casey is sleepy.
Well, I'm not a cat, that's for sure. I'll let Casey speak if she's sleepy, but she certainly acts like it sometimes.
uh, I am sleepy sometimes, but right now I am wide awake. Don't worry. Well, maybe not wide awake, but definitely awake.
Enza asks, what is your favourite number, Casey LaFay?
Um, I don't really think about this very often. If I had to choose, I guess I'd say 12. That's really cool of a number because it can be divided by 4 and 3 and 6 and 2. So I just think that's really cool.
Code King asks, I have a question about how Congress will deal with the delay in court cases being heard. What plans does it have to address this issue?
Well, in regards to Congress, I think the Congress could look into seeing which specific judicial officers have not been doing their job, who maybe haven't been as quick or something as they've been. I would just like to point out the fact that the president could nominate an additional judge to help the baggage, and the Supreme Court could always appoint a third magistrate to assist in the backlog they clearly have due to how long it takes for some of these cases to go to completion. Um, I would like to plead no comment to the Vice President's question. Ouch. This is more of a question directed at Casey LaFay considering her previous speeches. Mr. President of the Senate?
Well, I don't know. I personally wouldn't introduce brain rot to Congress, but anyone who would like to use brain rot in their communication, I believe that's their right. Um, yeah.
Have a question from Nim in the Discord. Why did you decide to go with a hard cap rather than an exponential tax on properties?
When drafting the legislation, I certainly previously we have been told. I mean, it depends on what you mean by exponential. If you mean by plots like going up, how many you have. Previously, we've been told that's not technically possible with the plugin, so unfortunately, we couldn't do that. I don't know what else you could mean exponentially, but if that's if the way I just said is what you're intending, then it was plugin limited.
Question from an anonymous asker. Wouldn't it be better if merged plots were counted as one plot rather than two or more in taxation?
Technically speaking, I'm not sure. I don't know if that's possible. Again, I don't know if that's possible with this plugin to have them count as one. But I mean, we could certainly look into it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why that would be better. I mean, you're still having the same sized plot and you're having the same benefit from the plot. I don't see why simply connecting them should mean your tax lower. And yeah.
Eerie V asks, is there any legislation or anything being worked to disbar versus air lawsuit?
but uh DOJ ticket and
I haven't seen any legislation either. I believe he was a solicitor represent someone in those high courts he appealed in, but if he can still self-represent though unless they require otherwise. So I'm not sure disbarring is exactly correct. Nonetheless, yeah, go on.
Vice President Yeatboy asks, in his words, why are you complicit in Redmond's invasion of Oak Ridge?
personally, I believe there's no complicity, as I have never seen an invasion of Redmont into Oak Ridge territory. So I do not see any evidence of there being any complacency by this Congress in this subject. But if I could be if I could be presented with some evidence of Redmont's supposed invasion into Oak Ridge, I would love to see it.
Yeah, the same.
From Representative Kaiserin, I have a more serious question for both officers. Any comment on the recent prosecution of LFR member V_D for the various acts of terrorism?
Personally, I will not be commenting on the matter, as I think the link from LFR to him is just a blatant campaign drive from the representative to try to point a party to an individual's beliefs. The party does not agree with his actions, but I do not have a comment on the case itself, as I'm not the defense or the prosecution, or the judge for that matter.
Yeah, I don't support his actions either. Yeah, basically everything Buzzer said, I agree with.
All right. Vice President Yeatboy again asks, do you consider V_D a patriot or a terrorist?
To me, I don't consider him either of those things. I would consider every Redmont citizen a patriot. I wouldn't label him a terrorist yet. You're not a terrorist until they convict you. So right now, yeah, he's a citizen, which all citizens are patriots.
Yeah.
Question from Enza. What is their biggest inspiration?
My biggest inspiration, personally, would probably be my grandfather. But politically, I don't really have that many inspirations. I guess Unity or Pac-Man, who helped me. Personally, I have some inspirations, but that's for me, not for the country to know.
Yeah, I guess my biggest inspiration is just the result, when we finally see the impact of what we do, and that just inspires me to, help serve the people of Redmont, really. In terms of people, um, I don't know. The work that Bezzer's been doing really inspires me. Um, uh,
Thank you.
Gosh, I got so much inspiration from so many people. It's just hard to say them all. But
All right. See. Toad King asks, are there any plans to regulate the buying/selling of cryptocurrencies on DC?
Currently, I've not seen any discussion on this matter in Congress or outside of it. Um, and I would like to additionally point out that it would be incredibly difficult for us to regulate them due to them being third party and outside of in-game or elsewhere. But, you know, I'll look into it for you.
yeah, I haven't seen any regulation. Anyone wanting to regulate them in Congress either, or plans to. If we did, I imagine we'd regulate them like stocks, I guess, but I'm not really sure. There's no plan on that.
All right. Do we have any further questions? Cat.js asks, what is the President and Vice President's opinion on organised religion in Redmond?
I don't know. The president isn't online right now, but you could ask the vice president. He's right there. Or did he get removed? Okay, he's right outside the door.
And he's not getting in.
Hi, you boy. What is it like out there? Wild and free.
Seriously, okay.
All right. Thank you, all of you, for coming here today, and I'd like to thank everybody who asked questions for being brave enough to. I'll answer this final question actually before we end. My opinion on having casinos register with the DOC to avoid casinos to cheat question chances. Um, I believe this could be a good step. I know it's been talked about previously to sort of have a, sort of a sale proof. So, yeah. But with that being said, that'll be our final question. I'd like to thank everybody for coming here today. I would like to thank anybody who's brave enough to ask questions. Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody for coming here today. God bless the Commonwealth.
Yeah. I'd also like to thank you all for coming here today. It's been great seeing so many people in here. And just the public participation, and it's just really nice to see. So thank you guys.
Oh, and I'd like to, before we finally end it, I would like to say a very big thank you to Aether for organizing this whole event for us. You know, the forums, the outline of everything for us. She's been a great help, especially with her transparency reports as well. So a big thank you to Aether.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But, yeah, this is where we're going to end it. Thank you all for coming, and I hope you have a great rest of your morning, evening, / day, wherever you may be.